Hi, it's Anne-Marina Berg, licensed MFT in California, and today I wanted to discuss the topic that may be slightly controversial to people, but it's the idea that ADHD really isn't as hereditary as we have thought in the past. And I too have been convinced in the past that it has been primarily hereditary genetics because one of my kids has it, I have it, I've seen a pattern of it in my family, and like other clients that I see similar things, right? I've done a lot of research in this area, and there's a very well-known psychologist, Gabor Mate. If you're familiar with his work, I encourage you to read it. Scattered Minds is one on ADHD, and he's done a few others, but he really brings up the point, and other researchers in the area have bring up the point, we have never isolated a gene for any mental illness. So let that sink in. Not even addiction. We don't, at this point, and they've tried, there is no DNA gene that we have isolated. Now, what we have isolated is that there's a sensitivity gene to stress. So some children are born with a sensitivity gene. And when in stressful situations or in, exposed to certain types of trauma, can be little trauma actually, doesn't have to be the big old ugly trauma that we all think about. Those babies, even in utero, can develop and manifest what we now call ADHD. So now the theory is it's primarily environmental, with a slight component, if really any, to a sensitivity gene. Okay, so then you say, well, my dad has it, my mom has it, blah, 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 although, I hear all of that, right? I agree. They all may have had that sensitivity gene, and also there's such a thing called generational trauma. And we just kick that down the road, right? And part of the work that I do with my clients is to help them heal that so we stop that generational trauma. But also, if we have the ADHD symptoms, that we heal that trauma. And I do believe, and I have seen a lot of people heal from this disorder, quote unquote, right? Is it a disorder? I don't really know anymore. Is it a way that people have learned to adapt to their circumstances because it was stressful, it was hard. And really, when we talk about what is stressful for maybe infants, babies, we're talking about things that aren't as traumatic as you may think. So you're talking about maybe a mother who had postpartum depression, maybe has anxiety, depression of their own. Maybe there's financial struggles. Maybe both parents are working a lot and not really present. The primary caregiver isn't really available or is sort of checked out. Unfortunately, we see this in our society right now all over the place. And I'm not here to blame parents. I'm really not. Although I think we need more awareness around it. I wish I had more awareness around it. I had postpartum depression. I wasn't getting help right away. I was in a little bit of a denial around it. And what kind of factor did that have in one of my children at that time? I now believe it did have a factor. It did play a role. And a number of other things. We are living in a society where we are spending a lot of time detached from present moments. We are stressed. I'm seeing a rise in anxiety, depression. ADHD is obviously off the charts. That's why we're talking about it so much now. And why? Why? Is it, you got to ask yourself that question because, yeah, we have the tools to diagnose more. But I really think we have more of it now. We definitely have more serious cases of it. So it is definitely something to discuss. It is definitely something to explore and research on your own and come to your own conclusions. At the end of the day, the idea is not to be, blaming our parents, but it's maybe to look at them and see them for the human beings that they are. And we all make mistakes and we do the best we can with what we have, the resources we have, right? At the time, people are just doing their best. But it is to kind of help you understand how you've developed this brain this way and maybe heal parts of that. And also moving forward, if you choose to have children, to maybe think about the way that you're around them, to think about how you regulate your emotions, to think about your marriages and how those affect potentially a sensitive child like yourself. Thank you.